All right, y'all. So we are going to be kind of digging into an expanded version of what we were talking about on one of the prior podcasts. We're talking about mental health. A lot of questions honestly came up from that, from different content we were putting out on our platforms, even on some of the kind of Amazon streaming stuff that I was doing. There was a lot of common questions, and it seems to be a theme right now, especially with the Delta variant kind of variations that are going on, the stress that's potentially caused to it. So we're going to dig into today the impact exercise can have on our brain, especially around anxiety, mood boosting variables, and all that types of fun stuff. Right, Chuck?
That's right. And just, I'm going to give a disclosure right away. Mike just literally hit me with this topic right now. So he came prepared. I did not, but let's go. Let's get into it.
And watch how this podcast is going to go. Chuck's going to have way better valid points than I will, even though I've had the research and the reference points ahead of time. And you guys can be the judge to see if he even needs notice. Chuck doesn't even need notice. Like, you can just come in ready to go and we dive right into it.
Coming in hot. Let's go.
So with that being said, so with that being said, like, we wanted to just kind of, again, talk about, again, I'm not going to say I know what the future is going to hold in the next 3 to 6 months, but obviously, people have been talking about the Delta variant with COVID. It's still a reoccurring theme. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety. Now, while we can't control so many variables at play here, what we can control is what we choose to do with exercise, how we choose to spend our time. And I wanted to dig into, again, some options there, but also, again, some of the kind of brain science or the neuroscience and the brain chemistry that's going on, looking at, again, when we talk about serotonin being a mood boosting neurotransmitter, that's also sometimes known as the happy chemical. And again, if you guys want to even see like our references and digging into that, we can list them below so you guys can have that. But I figured let's start with that, Chuck, because that's an important piece. Like, the mood boosting component we'll get from exercise. It's hard sometimes to get the ball rolling, but if you know that's on the other side of it, I feel like there's a little bit more direct incentive to it.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, let's look at it. The person who goes to the gym and gets over the hump of, I really want to go work out, but I don't have the time, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. Once you get past all that anxiety or past all those difficulties of actually getting your foot in the door and getting into the gym and then getting to work in the gym, you're going to feel amazing after your workout, because your workout, once you start getting your body motivated and you're getting your body moving, your body's going to start releasing endorphins. And once those endorphins start getting released, it's going to release that brain chemistry. And then your brain is going to start fluttering and it's going to start being active, and you're going to start feeling a different way. Your cortisol levels go up, your serotonin levels go up, all these different aspects of what that brain chemistry is going to start happening once you start moving and start getting involved into a workout plan. Different than sitting on the couch and eating ho-hos. And I'm not judging anybody who wants to just sit on the couch and eat ho-hos. If that's your decision, go for it. Be happy with it. But you're going to get a different feeling from going into the gym and working out and doing a workout, whether it's yoga, whether it's doing a HIIT class, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's doing cardio. It doesn't matter. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. And that chemistry that's released from those endorphins from doing that workout are going to have a greater effect on your body than if you are sedentary.
And even let's like piggybacking on that. So you brought on endorphins that we can also dig into here, but that's something I always like to look at is sometimes taking a step back and let's think outside the box here. And like, you know what? I'll even like let anyone listening say, like that, Chuck, that sounds great. But like, again, they haven't gotten past that barrier. I don't have the time. I don't have all that. All right. First off, I bet you do have the time, but let's say you don't have necessarily the time or the resources or the means to get to the gym, or let's even consider the COVID variations of the world or the Delta variation of the world right now and saying, hey, you know what? I just don't feel comfortable getting into the gym for whatever variation of that it looks like. Hey, you know what? We can do these things at home. We even here, we have different programs for that, or thinking outside the box, even just doing a little dance party. Let's get up and get moving a little bit. The impact, and to Chuck's point, oh, I see those moves, Chuck. The impact is still going to be the same with the activity of it, being able to release those endorphins that you just talked about, Chuck. And the cool thing is when people talk about a runner's high, it's the endorphins that's actually making that happen, giving that sense of calm and relaxation that's happening afterwards. So just be able to find out whatever movement can look like for you. I can't encourage you guys enough to just make it happen. Even if it's 10 minutes, start with that and then we build from there.
Well, let's look at the beginning of what happened last year when the gyms shut down. There was a vast majority of people within the US that started going on walks every single night. We're not saying that if you don't feel comfortable going into a gym or you don't have the resources to build a gym in your home, do simple things like going on walks every single night. There was a huge bike shortage that started happening across the US of A because everybody went out and attempted to get bikes, mountain bikes, road bikes, everything. It's a massive amount of shortages. And now supply chain being the way it is, I'm sure that there's still going to be a decent amount of those shortages on bicycles, but there's various things that you can do to get a workout in without going to the gym if you don't feel comfortable, especially with this Delta variant coming out. In the beginning of COVID last year, before I put the gym in the garage, I was doing workouts in my living room with my wife, and we would get the kids going. And there's various apps out there. Obviously, we have stuff within our app and within our platform, but there's a ton of resources out there for you to stay motivated to work out. Having a trainer push you through an iPad, through your iPhone, through your computer, whatever it is. There's so many different resources out there for you to stay active within your home versus having to go to the gym. And honestly, the I don't have time for it, that excuse, if I can make time for it with both my wife, myself being professionals in our career, me doing this stuff with Mike, having clients, having two children, having a family, the people that are constantly using me as a resource. I help a lot of people out throughout the course of the day. But necessarily I don't have to, but I always make time for myself to get an exercise in. And I'm not saying that you guys have to go as into it as I do, or as Pina does, or as Mike does, or Ashley or whoever. I work out 6 days a week. That's my choice. But to stay active by doing a workout 3 days a week, that's a better option than 0 days a week. We have different types of programs that are out there to keep you healthy and happy. And even if you're working out 2 to 3 days a week, you're still going to get that chemical rush, and you're still going to get that endorphin release that you're going to need to honestly balance your hormones. And that's a big thing that we use this functional method phrase a lot. You go to a regular doctor and get a physical, they don't care about the functionality of your body. They just look at whether or not you are either healthy or not healthy. When they run blood work, they're running cholesterol. And it's pretty much what they're looking at. It's just cholesterol. They're not looking at your hormone levels or what levels your body should be naturally producing things like vitamin D, vitamin C. Where's your testosterone? Where's your estradiol? Those are big components of what you're doing. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to go on supplementations, but getting a workout in is going to help balance out those natural hormones within your body.
Yeah, and that's like, just to piggyback on that component of it too, even when you look at like from a doctor perspective, again, obviously we're not doctors in that sense of it, but I've had many discussions with either a team of physicians that we work with or my own doctor, and Chuck, me and you have had personal conversations even with other people we dealt with. Like, they're looking for normal ranges. They're not looking for optimal, right? And they're also like, when I discuss this with my doctor, I say, hey, can I get a panel? He's like, why do you want that? I'm like, well, because I just want to see, where my optimal levels, or I want to see where I'm falling in those ranges. He's like, listen, I'll be honest with you. Like, if something was wrong, we'd see it in what I'm doing right here. It would have a chain reaction. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to wait until the end of the chain reaction to then make a response to it. I want to be ahead of that. And they're like, yeah, no, that's just dumb. I mean, he didn't say that word for word, but he's basically like just discrediting that. I'm like, that's okay. Like, whatever. I also haven't gone back to that doctor. I got a new doctor. And again, I'm not saying right or however you guys feel about that, but just from our professional perspective, what we've done with literally over thousands of clients at this point in the decades of doing it, being able to have those markers and indicators, and then going back to, again, the brain chemistry of it, looking at, again, if you're feeling that components of, I'm not saying this is a cure-all for depression or anxiety or anything like that, goes well outside of our scope of practice, but the impact, the things you have control over, being able to say, hey, you know what, before I start going on antidepressants, before I start doing all that stuff, or if I'm doing that and maybe I want to start the transition, why not try this as well, to be able to say, hey, even if you say you have kids, right, Chuck, you and I, we both have kids, right? Like, my daughters are 3 and 1, so I'm starting them. You want to know, like, hey, how do I get my kids into like eating good or exercise? You know what? Do it with them. Let them see you doing it. And then again, maybe not force them. Like, I don't force the girls, but they were working out with me this morning. Tessa, my younger one, who's 1.5 years, was holding pads for me because she's seen me hold pads for other fighters. So little ththings like that build up, and the benefit, again, endorphins, so it's a natural kind of a painkiller, gives you that running high, but also serotonin as the happy chemical is it can be potentially known as, and the positive impact it can have on that state. Because if you're at least focusing on things you have control over, there's a lower sense of anxiety, because usually anxiety can tend to come from looking ahead to the future and things we don't have control over. So focus on what you can control at the end of the day.
Right. And, you know, to get back to touch base on the doctor aspect of it as well. Again, you're going to your regular general practitioner. They're looking at various different markers. They're not trained to look at all these different markers, even though, and I'm not putting down their practice or putting down what they do. To go to a doctor, and this just happened recently with a family member, you know, who obviously follows a lot of the advice that what we put out and what, you know, what my wife also tells her. We asked to have a full blood panel worked up on her, and her regular doctor, a regular physician was like, you know, why do you want that? I'm not going to do that. Even though it's being recommended, I'm not going to do that. And, you know, you as the patient should be able to ask for things from your doctor. And if that doctor is being resistant to it, maybe it's time to find a different doctor. Or, you know, again, we talk about the Lego theory. I have a slew of doctors within my network that I use. Piggyback a functional doctor onto a regular, you know, your regular physician network, and go see a functional doctor, because those functional doctors are trained to look at all those different key markers within your body as to what your body's not producing. But again, you know, we talk about, I have a lot of people ask me about testosterone replacement therapy. I've personally been on it for quite some time because of the way my body and the blood work came out. My functional doctor said, listen, for you to fix a lot of these issues within your body, you're going to have to go on it. Could we fix that by just lifting super heavy? Maybe. But I'm in my mid 40s now, not late 40s, mid 40s. I don't like to lift super heavy anymore because it's not great for my joints. So I could naturally increase my testosterone levels by lifting very copious amounts of weights, but it's also a negative effect on my body because my joints just aren't the way, you know, they're built in my 20s anymore. So what I'm trying to say by working out is you can fix a lot of the way your body feels by getting into the gym. If you're mentally depressed or if you're suffering from anxiety, throw your headphones on, get into the gym, start releasing those endorphins. You're going to start to mentally feel better about yourself. Again, that body in motion tends to stay in motion. You know, one of the big things with me prior to going on and visiting my functional doctor was I was suffering from sleep depression. I couldn't sleep at all. There were days I would go days without sleeping, and I couldn't figure out why. My body was tired. Mentally, I was just not able to shut it off. And that's because I had a chemical imbalance in my body. And I go to my regular doctor, they didn't know that. I went to a functional doctor and they're like, yeah, look at all your markers. Here's why you're not sleeping. And if we start putting you on these natural supplements that your body should be producing, you're going to start to feel better. But it's a combination of going to see a functional doctor and staying consistent with your workouts and nutrition that help me get this total balance in. It's not just about the work we put in the gym. You're going to start to feel better, and your body's going to start to feel better. Your anxiety may come down, but it's also what we're putting in our bodies nutrition wise that are going to have a big effect on that as well.
Yeah, so that's, I feel like we could even dig into probably like a part 3 with how nutrition plays a role in brain chemistry and some of the ties in there, and how the gut is like the second brain, and a lot of variables and even like neurotransmitters being produced there. For example, serotonin being one of them. Like I think it's 90 to 95% of it's being created and released in the gut. So having that as a variable and a marker to be mindful of becomes really important. But even like kind of dialing it back to that nutrition, I mean, the exercise piece of it, to your point, Chuck, it's like, again, it's something we have control over. It starts this positive feedback loop of like, okay, I took action, I went to the gym. I actually feel good because I'm starting to have a change in my brain chemistry naturally, as well as maybe like, again, talk to your doctor, make sure you have your team behind you so they can, there might be other medications, there might be other variables at play, but being able to focus on what you can control, then you start maybe sleeping better at night. And then guess what? When you're sleeping better at night, now your body's not producing as much what's called ghrelin. It's a hunger hormone. Your body releases ghrelin. It cues you to eat. Now, when you don't sleep enough, your body produces more ghrelin. It starts to increase that to make up for the energy demands that your body's saying, hey, we're losing sleep. Our leptin release, which is the satiety one that tells you, hey, I'm starting to feel full. You don't produce as much. You produce more ghrelin. Now you're hungry all the time. You're getting carbs or quick fixes or sugars or energy drinks. I just talked to a client about this. Like, hey, I'm drinking like 2 to 4 monsters a day, every day. I'm not sleeping right. I'm stressed out. Like, cool. We're just focusing right now on getting to the gym for 3 to 4 days a week. That's all we're doing. And over the next 2 weeks, we're going to see a change and then being able to have that positive feedback loop. So again, kind of rapid, kind of back to that point, Chuck, of focus on what we can control. Get into either the gym, get in exercise, work it in, even if it's starting small, 10 to 20 minutes, and then have your team and have that kind of input to be able to have one thing feed into the next. And it starts to become nutrition. Then we start to feel good and becomes this circle that kind of feeds into itself.
Yeah, I mean, even if, again, we don't feel comfortable going to the gym, issue yourself a challenge that every night after dinner, I'm going to go for a 1 mile walk after dinner. And then if you can get consistency with just doing that Monday through Friday, just after dinner, I'm going to do it. And if we want to incorporate it on the weekends, great. But challenge yourself to at least do it Monday through Friday after dinner. You know, don't just go hop on the couch and watch TV. Go for a walk. And then, you know, once you start getting consistency around that walk, turn it into a game. Time yourself. How long did it get me to get that 1 mile walk in? And can I do it at a faster pace and beat my time? And then try to see if you can get some consistency with beating your time every single day. And then once you start feeling comfortable and getting into a pace, tack on some, you know, length to it. You know, maybe do 1.5 miles, maybe do 2 miles. And then again, once your body starts getting into it, now maybe I can add a little home workout on there, and I'll stay consistency with my walks every single night, but maybe I can also tack on a little 15, 20-minute home workout 3 days a week plus my walks. And then you're going to see some progression. You may see some change in your body. You may start to feel a lot better. These are things that we can control within our own environment.
And then to your point, Chuck, so I'll even like, all these are amazing, to me, easy, actionable. Now it's going to look different for everybody, right? That can be really hard for a lot of people. So let's say to help set you guys up for success, one of the other things we can piggyback, and Chuck and I do this all the time from like an accountability buddy perspective, not just in a professional setting, but from a friend perspective, saying like, hey, we talk about like just being able to chat about what's our plan for the next couple of weeks. What are you focusing on? What am I focusing on? Like my goal, honestly, is to just get into jiu-jitsu and do at least 2 classes a week. That's something I've transparently with you guys from an accountability perspective, I've really struggled with. Like I work out 6, if not 7 days a week, but I've personally struggled just because I have this home gym. It's really easy for me. I've struggled with getting to the gym for the classes and the class time for jiu-jitsu. So that's my personal struggle. So being able to have an accountability buddy, even if you don't want to walk with someone because maybe you don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, maybe get your spouse or your partner or your family if you can, or call somebody up on the phone, get on a FaceTime or a video chat, or call somebody up, and the time will go by a lot faster. And then Chuck, you made an awesome point, by the way, with tacking on that workout, maybe 2, 3, or 4 days a week. And maybe you don't do it every single time you miss it, but at least you got that walking. At least you have that foundation. The Legos of it are established there.
Right. I have one question for you, Mike. Getting back into I need to get back into class at least twice a week. Are you worried about anything?
No, not as much about like the
you're not worried about like a role that may come up soon. Like
if anything, if I was worried about that, don't you think that would get me into the gym a little bit more?
It's true. I'm just wondering.
I'm very much like that is actually part of the motivation there, because I got to give also a shout out to my buddy Johnny, not Johnny Buck at Rogue, another buddy of mine, Johnny Blanjardo. He came down and he whooped my butt here. We did some jiu-jitsu rolling in the house. Like we didn't even go to the gym, just from like time frame, and like I did all right, but like he whooped me like solidly the entire time. And like me and him, basically, he started actually after like 6 months after I started jiu-jitsu. And yeah, man, he's always been like a great grappler though. So kind of whooping me. So I'm like, all right, man, that was a reality check of like, I can talk a lot of smack, but I have to get my ass in the gym to be able to get to, again, leveraging what are the goals, what's the priority to me. And I'll be honest with you now, like I put in a resignation with one of the positions I had. And like, now it's just like focusing on LOF full-time, focusing on my family full-time, being able to commit to you guys more. Like now I've cleared room for these kind of things. Now it's just a matter of like doing it. So that's like being able to have Chuck holding me accountable, talking a little smack, like, dude, I'm going to tap you out really quickly. So you better
it's going to be super quick. I'm just letting you know, it's going to be super quick, super fast. I won't even go for any leg locks. I'm just going to try to put you to sleep as fast as possible.
And then I'm just gonna be nappy new time. But so like that's like another component of it. So it's like I'm going to jujitsu tonight because it's Tuesday, 6:30, jujitsu at Road Combat Club. So that's going to be a key component. And this is how I'm going to share with you guys how I make this work, because this is something I think a lot of people can relate to. If you don't have a schedule, if you're like, all right, I know classes are 6:30 Tuesdays and Thursdays, cool. What's the other parts of your day look like? Are you going to be able to get there? Did I schedule a client at 7:45? That was a dumb move because now I can't get to the gym and feel less stressed about it. Or did I schedule calls? Did I block out that time in my calendar so I don't worry about anyone booking calls with me or things like that? Be able to look at your calendar too and actually schedule, block the time. Guess what? I bet you have time for work, right? You make it to work, because you have it on your calendar, you know you got to be there. You can make it to these kind of things if you put it into your schedule and you make it happen from that standpoint. But
yeah, my schedule is locked all the time. I know when my jiu-jitsu classes are, and if I'm not going to jiu-jitsu for the day, I know exactly what I'm doing and when I'm doing it for my own personal workouts. And again, for me, if I don't get my workouts in, I mentally don't feel great. So my mood could be altered because I didn't get my workout for the day, and I could be irritable or nasty. So for the benefit of my family, if I don't get my workout in, my family knows I'm going to be an irritable, nasty individual. So they know also to give me my space and give me my time and let me go in the gym and do my thing. Because again, if I don't, I'm just mentally, I don't feel right. So my time throughout the course of the week, I can tell you right now, I'm in jiu-jitsu Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, I'm working out. I'm doing weights. So everybody knows my schedule. Everybody who's around me, everybody who's in my environment, they know my schedule. I make it a point for my own self and my own sanity to block out that time, just like I'm going to work. I go to work every Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock in the morning until whenever I get out. I'm in the gym for these times as well. And that's just like my second job to me. And the people within my environment know to leave me alone during those times. Except for Mike, he constantly texts me all the time.
Dude, there's not first off, I'll text Chuck. This is another one I gotta like, this blows my mind with you, Chuck. I'll text you at like 3 a.m. because some days I can't sleep. And somehow you're still also awake and or maybe you're sleeping and you just still answer me somehow because you're like, you have the craziest work ethic I've ever seen. You're like, or I just woke you up and I'm a dick and you're like, well, now I can't sleep. I might as well answer him. Either way,
that's happened before too.
I never leave Chuck alone. Dude, you were on vacation and I remember I wrote you an email and I was like, in the email, I was like, I hope you're not reading this right now because I hope you're
totally
enjoying
read it. I totally read it.
Yeah, of course. And that's why it's on me too for like, just, I gotta leave you alone sometimes, but like the way my mind works, I need to get it out. So I want to give you guys a couple of checklists here, a couple of things to run down through to recap what we talked about, but B, to give you actionable tasks. I feel like all of this stuff is great, but if you're not going to take action on it, it's kind of all for nothing. So let's recap. To me, some of the most important pieces is A, protect and carve out time in your calendar and protect that time like you would your job or anything like that. Protect that time, make it happen. Whatever feels realistic, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes to start with, 2-3 days a week, have it on your schedule. 2, know yourself and be honest with yourself. Don't pretend like you are going to do it by yourself. If you have access to the gym and you can join a class and you're okay with that, do that. Put yourself in the best position possible to succeed. Or if it's getting an accountability buddy like Chuck and I, or your spouse or whomever, even if they don't do it with you, like call them on the phone and be like, hey, I'm walking right now, whatever. Then 3, if you need to, I guess this is 2A. If you need to and that doesn't work, like get a professional. Invest in yourself like you'd invest in anything else. And then 3 is being able to consistently do that for a set period of time and track it so that you can say, hey, I'm going to commit to this for 2 to 4, or whatever that feels realistic for you, and write down like I did it, how many times you did it. So you can say in 2 weeks, oh, I only did this once. Of course, I'm not going to see results or I'm not going to feel better. Or wow, I did 6 workouts. I'm feeling significant, or I'm seeing a difference here. So those are the 3 things. Chuck, I want to kick it to you though. I'm curious if there's something you might have that I might have missed, or just your thoughts on that checklist.
No, the checklist is great, but ultimately, number 1, take the time to invest in yourself, no matter what it is. Invest in yourself. Number 2, in my opinion, is don't dive in with your, both feet first. If you are not accustomed to going to the gym every single day, let's break off little chunks and do exactly what I was saying by let's incorporate a nightly walk. And then once we get consistency around that, or we start to feel comfortable with that, add on to what you're doing. Don't overwhelm yourself by, if you're not comfortable going into a gym or you're not comfortable doing like a 40-minute class, don't do it. Because if you go overboard, you're going to get defeated right away. And then you're going to be sore. And then you're just going to be like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. I'm not going back. Start breaking off little pieces of it and attack it as such. I'm going to do this first, then I'll add on this, then I'll add on this. Break off those little pieces. And then again, invest in yourself, stay consistent with it. You're not going to see results if there's no consistency around what you're doing. And even if breaking off little chunks and pieces of what you're doing, if there's no consistency with that, you won't see any type of results. So stay consistent with the plan that you've put in place. And even if you need a little reminder to yourself, buy yourself a little calendar, slap it on your refrigerator and block off that time, and then check it off that you've accomplished it, that you've done it. It gives you a little bit of recognition that you've completed it for the day, crushed that workout, motivated for the next workout. These little things are like just snippets as to what you could do for success in what you're trying to accomplish. And again, it doesn't mean that we got to go all in and just, try to go to the gym and try to lift copious amounts of weights or do a class that we're uncomfortable with, or, having an accountability partner who's too overbearing. And then trying to, between Mike and I'm probably a little bit too more overbearing with Mike. But, if you get an accountability partner who's too overbearing and you're trying to stay consistent with that person and it's too exhausting, communicate, be open with the person, be like, I got to pull it back a little bit because my body's not recovering, or A, B, or C, whatever it is. These are little snippets of what you can do for success. Just keep them in the back of your mind and incorporate them in your plan, because you'll have success if you incorporate them.
Oh, 100%. And dude, this is a perfect example. I got to say, so I want to reference, remember what I said in the beginning of the podcast? Chuck didn't come in with research or the websites or anything I was referencing with the data and endorphins and serotonin and like production in our gut, all that fun stuff. Look at the points he's laying on you guys. Like, he doesn't need notice or any insight and research ahead of time. But now, we've leveled up some of the back end behind the scenes things. So we're going to have more of that moving ahead. So I'm also curious if you guys have any requests or anything like that. Feel free to let us know. Like, we have all of our contact information below. And as a bonus, especially for everybody hanging into the end of the podcast, we're putting in a link below that has some of the free resources we've created already that you guys can get access to. You can get little snippets and previews of either our nutrition courses, of our Total Body Booty Builder series. You guys can get some access, some early previews of it, as well as some other PDFs that we have. I'll give you guys a really good foundation to work off of. And then if you like what you're seeing there, you can always kind of build upon that more. But we want to provide value for you guys at the end of the day and some access to those resources. But with that being said, I figured we'll kind of leave it at that. And then Chuck, maybe we can dig upon next time. We'll dig into the nutritional side of things and the impact it can have with all these variables, especially to the point that you made.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another lockdown coming. Let's all get prepared to not pack on another COVID-15. Because I've heard that COVID-15 a lot. Everybody keeps talking about that COVID-15 and how unhappy they were when they packed that on. So if we do get another lockdown, let's go into the lockdown with a plan, and let's not pack on weight.
Oh, so with that being said, y'all, we're going to finish it with that. We'll come back next week. We'll keep building upon this stuff. And again, if you guys have questions or requests, feel free to contact us. We have everything below, and we have a bunch of great resources, and we got some new stuff in the works as well. So for all that new stuff, check it below. And also make sure you're giving Chuck and myself a follow, because we're constantly trying to drop knowledge on you guys and share this insight.
Stay safe, all.